Okay, welcome to Dream Dowsing. We are your hosts, Kim and Margarita, and we never have any fun here. That's the shame of the whole thing. So, if you've joined us from before, you know how we do things here. We analyze a dream and we try to do it with a spiritual angle with it. And Margarita uses her pendulum. If you're new, you can see Margarita's pendulum. She's got her DNA spiral pendulum. And if you're driving and you can't see this, it is a beautiful single piece of brass, very shiny, that is spiraling around, almost like looks like a DNA spiral. And it's very pretty and it's heavy. You said what? You didn't say 3 pounds, but like 3 ounces.
Oh no, oh my goodness, yeah. There's ounces. But
That's
like
heavy.
anything, once
Yeah.
it has a lot of speed and then it becomes,
Yeah. It's heavy. And if you're watching, you can see that when the pendulum does move in response to the things I'm saying, her hand is really not moving. So, do you want to explain how that works and how it
yeah, well,
spins without you
yes,
trying?
yeah. So just a little bit about pendulums, and this is, I primarily use Egyptian pendulums, and they have to do a little bit also with sacred geometry. Yeah, and for anybody who doesn't know about it, they may need to look at it because that would be a different subject, long one to explain. But what this does is just a tool. So it needs a user, and it taps into frequencies. So like you have a frequency, I have a frequency, the dream has a frequency, the person that the dreamer holds a frequency. So what this does, based on what I guide the pendulum that I'm wanted to tap into, it just does its own thing. So in this case, tap with you about the dream, and I just want to make sure that everything that you are saying is true. And that's how I always go into every dream. Just listen to Kim and then react. So as you can see, sometimes in previous dreams, the pendulum is always moving back and forth when it's agreeing with what you are saying. And sometimes when it thinks, it goes counterclockwise. So just think of the clock. When it goes counterclockwise, it's just thinking. It's like, okay, did I understand that correct? And so I may ask you a question. And when it says no, it just moves side to side.
Yeah. Okay.
Long explanation today, but that's kind of how it works.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you want more information too, you can go to our very first video our first podcast where we explained everything in greater detail. And so I use, to interpret the dreams, I use the symbols that are present in every dream. And sometimes I know what they are and sometimes I don't. So if I don't, I look them up, and I use 2 different sources, which I will include the links to in the show notes. So you can click on those and do that research yourself. You still need to sit with the dream and try and figure out what it is, and try and bring in a little bit of intuition to have it make sense with what it is that what the dream is. What's the point of this whole thing? So this dream today has got a lot of symbols in it, and they're kind of crazy actually, but you'll understand what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and get started with that. And then after this dream analysis, we'll tell you how you could submit your own dream, which we'd love to have, and we could work on your dream. All right, here we go. So this dream is about the dreamer is a female. She was making soup. It sounds like she was outside making soup. The soup was being cooked in a wok, which was set over a large basin of water. Sounds like a double boiler type thing there. And she said her partner was squatting beside her for warmth. It doesn't say anything in detail about the partner, but it just says the partner was squatting beside the fire for warmth. Then a bald man came in. He had very big blue eyes, and he also wanted to be warm, so he also squatted next to the fire. The partner told the dreamer that guy seems kind of shifty, and the dreamer said she didn't see that at all. And she was balancing her wok of soup, over the water and the fire, the basin that had water in it over the fire. And she said she accidentally spilled some of the soup from the wok into the water. And the partner said very loudly, "You spilled it." And she was very upset and annoyed with what he said. And she got up and walked quietly into the house. Then she said her young son came up and he asked, "Did you spill the soup into the fire?" And she didn't answer him, and she felt very angry at everybody, which probably would be how it went if it was in real life. I'm trying to cook something here. So, all these symbols are interesting. So soup is nourishment. And I would say if you were feeling sick or you were starting to feel sick and you dreamed about soup, the dream symbol in that case might represent that you need some nourishment or that you should actually be making soup for yourself. This dream's a little more complicated than that, so I don't think that's what's happening here. But soup represents nourishment. It can be represent actual nourishment, vegetables and things like that, or it could represent spiritual nourishment. And your pendulum is going back and forth on this one, saying yes, positive on that. What's very interesting to me about this dream is that the partner is squatting next to the fire. And so, first of all, to squat, I mean, we hear about squatters in the world. They come in, they take over a place, and they're squatting. They've taken over the rent, or taken over the Airbnb, and they're squatters. They're not paying their dues. They're not helping out. They're just taking space and stealing it. So I think it's very interesting the partner is squatting. But squat, you can also say, which is a different way of sitting comfortably. But sometimes symbols are just metaphorical of things that we actually use, terminology we actually use colloquially. A person who is bald is a person who can represent not caring about what other people are saying or doing, or is very comfortable with themselves. They're not necessarily trying to impress anybody. The big blue eyes are windows to the soul. We use that term all the time. That's what it does represent in the dream. You're still getting your pendulum going positively here. So I'm watching you to see. But if you're driving, you can't see, but the pendulum is swinging back and forth, meaning yes. And the fact that the eyes are blue represents spirituality. So it's interesting. You've got the two different partners, two different styles too. So I'll go into that in a second. Spilling the soup is interesting. Spilling soup could mean like telling a secret, revealing a secret. You're spilling the soup. It could also mean that she just doesn't have, she's losing some nourishment. There's nourishment's being spilled. There's spiritual nourishment or physical nourishment being lost. Nope, not nourishment or not. Okay, I gotta go back.
Not the second one.
She's
nourishment.
not.
It's the first one.
That she's spilling the soup. That she's telling secrets.
Yeah, it was more there. There you go. It's moving now. Yes.
Okay. Just telling secrets. Okay. And the sun can represent the actual child of the person. It can also represent, young children represent new ideas or things like that. So there's a couple interpretations I see that could be possible here. So you will help me out with this one. So what I'm suggesting here is possibly happening is that she has a partner who is not doing very much. He's not really being particularly helpful in real life. And she's trying to prepare food. She's trying to nourish the household here. She's trying to take care of everybody. And interestingly, this other guy who comes in, who's bald and has big blue eyes, kind of almost represents maybe a spiritual side. Maybe kind of the opposite, where the first partner is just kind of more earthbound, I would say. The other one is coming from seems like maybe a higher level, a higher vibration kind of a guy. But he's also coming in and wanting warmth. And she's got this child too. It feels to me like she's a person who's being pulled in many directions in her life. So it sounds like she's got family, she's got a partner, she's got her own, maybe her interests are spirituality. I don't know. And that's pulling at her too. She doesn't think that guy's shifty. I think that's interesting. The other partner did. So my interpretation on this one might be that she's got too many people needing her. and she is maybe wanting to say something by spilling the soup. Like maybe she wants to come out and say, "Look, guys, I got you demanding this from me. I want this." But there's a demand from that to focus on this other area of my life or this hobby or something like that. And then I've got the young family too that's also wanting something from me. And she's getting annoyed by all of this, and she's also she's not confronting any of it directly. So like to go into the house represents your state of mind, your state of being. So she's kind of withdrawing and not actually confronting anybody. She's not saying anything to anybody. She's mad, so she's stewing. So I'm not saying that this dream is telling her she should speak up. It's just that that is what's happening. Is that maybe she doesn't see that that's what she's doing in her real life, so maybe her higher self is trying to tell her, like, "Look what you're doing. You're being pulled in all these directions and you're not saying anything. Maybe it's time to say something and to speak up so you're not so angry all the time." So, it might not be quite that extreme where there's that much advice happening, but it does seem like there's an observation of what actually is happening, and sometimes that's all the dream is. It's an observation. Here's what's going on. So and your pendulum is swinging yes, so
Yeah, and when I move my head, it's because it's kind of jumping. You may not be able to see it, but it's strong
okay.
compare. Yeah, so when I go like, it's like, yeah.
Okay.
And like even right now, I don't know, you can see even the movement is just very
Yeah,
strong.
very strong. Yeah, I can see that from
Yeah,
here.
because
Yeah.
it's saying what I'm saying to you or to everybody who's listening, that yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. Well, that was an interesting dream. I thought it was a really interesting dream. So we're calling this one the soup and the squatters because it's kind of an
Very,
interesting
yeah, no,
dream.
that was pretty, yeah, quite interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. It reminds me of I mean, just because we're talking about cooking and spirituality, but I sent you a link this week for this monk who was making chai from scratch. It was a beautiful video watching this guy put the lemongrass in the mortar and pestle and grind that up, and then the cloves and everything, and just it was very soothing. It was a very peaceful video. Like I felt so relaxed after watching that video. And I'll put the link of that in the show notes too, because it was really nice. But the interesting thing about it was like this man's a monk. I mean, he's got the robe on and everything like that. But he was talking about that you can go someplace and you can meditate, and that's important. And that's one thing you can do, but you can also meditate throughout your day, and making the chai is a meditative act. Just taking the time to sit there and be very mindful about what you're doing is very meditative. And I think we've seen that like from I've seen this from Andrew Weil when he's making matcha. About this is it's a very spiritual thing. It's a ceremony. It's something you take the time to do and you're mindful of it. And I drink a lot of matcha and I do try to be very attentive to what I'm doing. It's not the same as opening up the fridge door and pouring orange juice into a glass and chugging it. It's takes attention. Um, but I sent that to you, and so you mentioned something else which was kind of similar too.
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense. And I thought it was really just beautiful how this person speaks, slowly. And so there's a few things you mentioned of being, it's almost like being in the moment, you
Mhm.
say the meditative state. And one of the things that I do and it's just kind of being in the presence. So being more aware during the day, uh, about the presence of just being present, of being maybe if you with God, because that's just I have to be who I am. So that's how I believe in a higher, a creator, and so it's just keeping being in the present, just always thinking throughout the day. Or one thing that I have a reminder on my phone that I say give everything to God,
Mhm.
because when even your responsibilities everything, so when you are doing that, it just makes everything, it goes back to a meditative, is part of it. It's just instead of always thinking, I have to do everything myself or others are doing this to me, just give everything to God. It's a way of meditation. It's just being in the present. That's how many
Yeah.
other philosophies and they call it just being in the present.
Yeah. I like that. And it's just about, you might be a busy person. That's okay. But trying to be being present, even while you're doing some of your crazy busy things. So, if you're walking somewhere, you're walking into an appointment or something like that, just be aware of your steps, be aware of your body and what it's doing. And um, I find for me, this is a simple little thing. I guess it is meditative. I didn't really think about it, but when I'm driving down the street sometimes and I'm thinking, okay, I gotta do this and that and that, and oh, I gotta call this person. And then I'll just remember, like, look at the trees. And it'll take my mind off of what I'm thinking about for a second and really look at each of these wonderful trees and how beautiful they are, if they're changing color. Like right now it's the fall, and so depending upon where you're driving, there's trees that are starting to change color. We're in Southern California, so we're not seeing all the crazy oranges and reds that people in other parts of the country are seeing, but they're still magnificent, and it's really neat to see that and to take time to I like to bless all the trees when I'm driving too. So it's just a simple little meditative thing, or preparing a beverage or preparing your meal or whatever, just being mindful about it. The power of now. The
Eckhart Tolle.
Yes, Eckhart Tolle, yeah. He's really got good examples of that too, about just being really mindful, being present.
Yeah, and the thoughts. And yeah, it was actually when you were saying that, I was thinking of what he says constantly. And even yesterday, I think I was listening to him like a 10 minutes about even the thoughts. And in the West, because it's also very different. We didn't grow up like in Asia, so many cultures. There's a lot of Buddhism, Hinduism. They are highly spiritual, and a lot of the like Ayurvedic medicine comes with a very holistic approach. So they grow up with that. The West is very different. So for us, that's why I even say, I set myself reminders, because we say, oh, it's so easy, practicing the present. No,
Yeah.
actually, when you are working with the unseen, with the spirit, is probably more challenging than any job anybody will ever have. I believe that it's just it is. It's just a matter of reminding, changing little by little, and then eventually, after many many years, you may say, "Oh yeah, there's a little different. I have more peace. I have more of this. This doesn't bother me." But it just, for us, I think it's just a little more. We just need more reminders. And Eckhart Tolle was talking about thoughts. Say for a lot of people, he called them the being unconscious, meaning they are so run by thoughts constantly that they don't even realize that the thoughts they are created, they come from the mind. Like uh, the mind is the builder, you know. It causes diseases like stress. That's the mind
Hmm.
thinking, 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 and it will be, the ideal will be to come to a point where we are aware. You said that word, aware. Awareness is huge. And I will say the majority of us are not aware. And
Hmm.
when you become aware, then of just even the fact that you are thinking negative, a lot of people think negative, they are not even aware. They just are run by their mind and their thoughts.
Yeah.
But just stopping and being present, like you said, is that's what, because the word right now is mindfulness. Who knows what's going to be next year?
Yeah, true.
We keep changing terms. It's normal. Even through
Yeah.
history, everything keeps changing according to the culture, the times, but it still kind of means the same.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I think that is all it is hard. It is hard because we're humans, and so and I probably, I mean, living in the United States is probably really hard too, in some places in Asia, where and a lot of countries, wherever you're in a city, and like you're working so hard to do everything and manage everything and be everywhere, and it's hard to shut off what they call the monkey mind, where you're just thinking constantly. And if you try to catch yourself when you can be quiet long enough to catch yourself, then you're like, oh geez, I've been like running nonstop. So that's in your mind. I don't mean going and going and going, just in your mind. And a lot of times you're repeating the same narratives over and over again, or discussions you've had or never had, or a tragic death that you've undertaken in the last 5 minutes that never happened either. I mean, it's like we're just always going on and on about stuff. But if you can try, you will get in the habit of it. They say it's like a muscle. If you just keep practicing and keep trying. But um, you'll benefit from it. So it's good to try. It really is good to slow yourself down and be connected with anything else that's going on.
Yeah, I wanted to say, actually, I'm going to give a quote if I remember. If now we just have deleted it from today's call, but I just can't remember his name, but somebody who's very famous, already passed. But he said, "Oh, I have all these things that were going on in my mind, and I was worried about it." And he just went on about all these things, and then he said, "And most of them never happened."
Yes, that's Mark Twain. Yeah.
Ah, thank you.
Yes.
I knew I heard. So, do you remember exactly what he said? It was just the words. I'm like, that is so true. It's like,
Yeah.
it is so true. And most of them never happen. We
Yeah.
create our own suffering, which we know
Yes.
that.
Yeah. Or you're just imagining what could happen and, oh, this could be really bad. And then I would die and everyone would be really sad that I died and there would be a funeral. And it's like, you're wasting your time, but it's normal to sometimes just go down a road or, some horrific diagnosis you're going to have or the loss of somebody. I don't know. We're crazy. We're just like literally crazy people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But
if,
anyway, yeah, I think
yeah,
this was, yeah, that was really good.
yeah.
And I really, and you said, what was it that you said when you sent me that, the tea, the meditation and tea? You said I'm probably make that the
Yeah, I
chai
said
tea.
I would like to learn how to make it and have all those ingredients, and I would enjoy doing that as a meditative practice. And I
And what
believe
did
you,
I say?
I think you said I will enjoy drinking the tea. So you're not gonna,
The
I'm not
tea you're
gonna do
gonna
that,
make.
but you go ahead. But so you can still be meditative while you drink it, just even taking the time to be aware. And like a chai tea, there's so many different ingredients going on. If you can, even just when you're drinking it, try to just like taste the different ingredients, take the time, just to be aware of something other than what's going on up here constantly.
That's probably one of the most challenging things to do, but the one that we need to do
Yeah.
is just, even if it's aware, it doesn't have to be of everything. We have to start somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. And just so you know, I just went to a tea shop and got some really good chai. And so
Cool.
I'm not making it by scratch, but I am putting it in there. I'm looking at it. It's very interesting. And I'm making it according to the proportions that he suggested. And I am really trying to taste it and enjoy it. And it is lovely. It is really lovely. I did think it was very cute how he said that this guru that he worked with drank 12 cups of chai a day and then he had the most incredible energy. Of course he did. He's drinking a lot of chai. There's actual tea in that. So yeah, I would hope he had a lot of energy. I would hope he got the ashram all painted and everything and cleaned up. At the end of the day, he's got so much energy. But that was funny. Well, should we end this one here?
Yeah, yeah, that was
Okay.
good. Thank you, Kim.
Yeah, thank you, Margarita. And thank you for listening and for staying with us. And we would like to let you know. So if you go to our website, dreamdowsing.com, you can go down to the bottom of the page and we've got a form you can fill out and ask about your dream in greater details. And so what you need to do is just write down as much as you remember about the dream and the details about it. Like this one that we got today was like, I was angry. That's good to know. That helps with the interpretation, or that the man had very big blue eyes, things like that. Write down everything you can remember and how you felt about it, and it does help us. And send that in, and we'll get it here on podcast. We'd love to share it and see, what's going on, see what we can all learn from each other when we interpret a dream. Thank you very much, and we're really
Thank
happy to
you.
have you here.
Bye.